G'day and welcome to the Women's Footy Podcast, the first ever interview, in fact, on the Women's Footy Podcast. I got to get used to saying that and not the Mind Your Body show. Today, I'm speaking to Beckie Taylor, and I couldn't think of anyone more appropriate to come on the first interview episode of the Women's Footy Podcast. Beckie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Jacob. Thank you.
First woman to play 200 NTFL games. Tell me a bit about that, and then we'll go back as we normally do in the theme. But tell me about the 200 games in the NTFL.
Alrighty, so I just want to throw a little in there for myself. It was 200 consecutive.
Oh,
So I
really?
think, yeah, I think that
Far
would
out.
be first for a male or female to have done 200 consecutive. And in there, I've had knee reconstructions and all sorts of stuff as well. So I'm pretty proud of the journey. It was pretty tough in part, and but it's pretty awesome overall. And yeah, felt absolutely privileged to be a part of the whole women's footy journey, I guess, or an integral part in some ways as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Uh,
Congratulations. We will get on to that. We'll talk in more depth. So I wanted to start off with that though, because this is the first ever Women's Footy podcast episode interview. Let's go right back in how I normally would do it with the Mind Your Body show. What did we interrupt in your day today? What would you normally be doing at this point in time on a Saturday afternoon?
well, my current lifestyle is pretty new to me. So I'm overlooking the Endeavour River in Cooktown. So yeah, just yeah, living on a hill, enjoying nature, surrounded by a lot of trees and a lot of water, and enjoying the local life, really getting to know people, what the place is all about, and getting to know myself in this time as well. So not interrupting a lot, probably some doggy beach time, a look around the sites really. Yeah, just enjoying
That's
where I'm at.
awesome. So life right now is pretty chill, living around Cooktown. Let's go right back to young Beckie Taylor. What was life like growing up? Tell me about the Beckie Taylor story. You can go back to as far back as you want to go. I've got a feeling with you though, we might be going back intergenerational though. We could be going back to past lives. So go back to where you want to start from.
I was thinking that when you're asking, I was like, where do I start? Yeah, well for me, I think we've all had a lot of past lives, but this lifetime round I'll talk about, and yeah, born in Leonora, so on the edge of the Central Desert in Western Australia, and just grew up a bush kid, a desert rat, and loved it, absolutely loved it. I can tell you one of the biggest themes in my childhood was, or outside family, was probably the mammal and growing up in Wongatha country and talking about spirit all the time, all the time. And it was just amazing. It's taught me so much. And I remember the kids at school were just constantly stirring each other about spirit. Um, one of my uncles had the funeral business as well, and because of Wongatha people are so spiritual in every sense, it just guided our daily living, our conversations, everything. But we used to tease people about, the mummels and the all that coming out of the funeral car, the hearse or whatever it is, and all sorts of things. But really deeply entrenched, we were on motorbikes on weekends, going out camping and all that, just kids. But we'd be in caves and camping with goats and all sorts of stuff and kangaroos. It was lovely. But spirit was probably a big theme. Family love is a big theme. Um, Fun, a lot of fun, and just free. Yeah, free.
So tell me about growing up after, all of that young childhood. How did you kind of moved around a bit. How did you end up where you are now through the different places you've lived?
So we didn't have a anything past year seven in Leonora, so had to go away to boarding school. That was both fun and hard. I think later in life, after boarding school, I found it hard. I realized, oh shit, I lost my parents at age 12, 13. And because essentially you grow up under someone else's guidance and, in a boarding house, there was 4 boarding houses, and we had about 40 girls in each house. So you're really growing up with a whole heap of sisters, which was amazing, amazing. And I think I really tapped in there. That was in Perth, actually. Really tapped into like a lot of feminine energies and understandings there of how to work with females. Um, Went back to Leonora, worked on the mines for a while, then went away to uni in Perth to do sports science and rec management and a few things of interest there. Always wanted to be in PE teaching, and then I got to the opportunity to go to uni, and I thought, shit, what do I want to be a PE teacher for? I don't want to be confined by the rules and regulations or the 4 walls. And I thought I'd rather be doing recreation management where you're grabbing kids and you're going out to breakaways and, climbing mountains and eating kangaroo and teaching someone how to make damper and do all the fun stuff with recreation. I did a few cycle tours and whatnot, took them down in Dwelling Up and places like that. Was great actually. Not well planned, some of them, because I tried to cross a few rivers, and being a desert rat, shit scared of water. So it was pretty hard to jump in stream 200 meters upstream, so you knew you'd float down level with everybody else because you couldn't swim across it. But anyway, getting sidetracked there. That was paying my way through uni and whatnot. Went back to Leonora. Had my daughter there, Talia. She's amazing, and life there with a young baby was really good. And I was managing the local recreation centre actually, and started doing a drop-in centre for the youth there, and had all sorts of sports going. It was amazing getting the mine people, the local people, and even communities around Leinster, Laverton, Menzies, all the areas in Mount Margaret Mission to play all the sports together regularly and whatnot. Really built up such a sporty community. And there was, I couldn't take my daughter to work. Like, she got to the age of 4 where I'm running the kiddie gymnastics program, and due to workplace rules, you can't take your child to work. So I was paying someone else to be Talia's parent to come to take her to my classes. And I just thought, oh, I need to get out of here. Like, I didn't want to be restricted by that either. I wanted, to grow up with my child as well. So I'd where am I going with this? I'd been to, yeah, when Talia was 1, I'd actually been up to the Northern Territory. I went with her dad, and we lived in Catherine for a while. And very fortunate that I flew out on the eve of the Catherine floods because we lost everything in the house and whatnot. I was on a plane back home to Leonora for Christmas. And what's happened there? I just remembered from Catherine driving up and down to Darwin, and everybody was so sociable. And the thing to me was, didn't matter what you were, who you were, it was just sport. Everybody was together socially. Like, it's thirsty weather up there, so everybody had a reason to come together and share socially. So there was a bit of beer drinking and stuff going on, although I've not really been a big drinker, and I certainly haven't been for years. But at the time, I just saw other people enjoying it so much, and their sport and the outdoor lifestyle. Anyway, back home in Leonora, that's when I was managing the recreation centre, and I thought, stuff this is a dry desert, and I've been here for, in and out for 30 years. And I remember the greenery of Darwin and thought, that's where I'm going. So yeah, headed to Darwin.
You mentioned in that journey there, feminine energy. Can you explain a bit more what you mean about that? It was in reference to when you're talking about, I think you came back to Leonora or you just went to Perth. But it was
my boarding school years, feminine energy. Yeah, so living with another 40 girls in the same house. I'm the only girl in my family, so I've grown up with brothers, and obviously they had their boy cousins around. The girl cousins were a lot older than me, and it was more the boys my age that were around. And I had one cousin on my mum's side actually who her and I used to try and dress the same and do all this sort of stuff and act like sisters. God, I just loved her. But going to boarding school, I felt like I had another 40 sisters. And I went from like there was 7 of us in our year group in Leonora. And then there's, 120 of us in a year group down in Perth. And I was just like, wow, wow, all these people. And I was just amazed that there was just so many females around that, I was a real tomboy. I was growing up on motorbikes and BMX bikes, and I don't regret any of it. I loved it. And, we were always doing flag races in the front yard, but everything was competition, competition, sport, sport, sport. And my brother being a year older, um, he was actually very good at everything he did. Like he's one of those people that everything he touches turns to gold. And he's an awesome leader in everything he does. Excellent business person. And I just thought it's nice to be out of the competitive world and in with this nurturing spot of females. And it was boarding school was a lot of fun. I think that's where I turned into a bit of a rat bag for a while. Just, after school, we'd get the high jump with us. So I made friends with the PE teacher straight away, but on weekends and stuff and after school, we'd say to her, because they were all we used to call them day bugs, the day scholars, and we'd say, oh, can we have the key to the sports room so we can go in on the weekend and get the basketballs out, or we'd get the, we can go and get the high jump buns and we'd practice high jump because I used to be right into athletics in those days. And yeah, it was just sport every afternoon and every weekend, and it was awesome.
So you ended up moving to Darwin. Tell me about the move to Darwin and what was it like?
Darwin. Well, I went up there with a daughter, a backpack, and a dog. And yeah, and then I think Charlie and I were doing an add up, and we've moved over 24 homes in about 20 years. And the last couple of years there was a lot more stable. But I just found that accommodation in Darwin back in those days was if you're looking for something cheap, it was just an absolute dive. And it was wet season that I went up there, so every house I looked at was moldy, and I'm thinking, wow, it just don't doesn't cut it for me. I didn't want to live in mold. I'm not a flashy person, but I certainly didn't want to be living in mold. So yeah, every 6 months or so, we'd be moving around to try and find something cheaper or nicer or whatever. But in that time, I always had a feeling it was important to keep Tali enrolled in the same school, regardless of where we moved. So that was routine and consistency for her. But Darwin, this is where I'm going to get onto footy. So I went down to basketball straight away because I bless Kristen Rioli has passed on from this plane, and but her and I played a bit of basketball together in Perth SBL, and anyway I came to see her up in Darwin, and we lived with her dad for a while as well, Charlie and I, and um, I went to basketball training for Rebels, and I think Maddie Bonson was the coach back then. And I would turn up 3 or 4 times, and no one was coming to training. And I just thought, "Ugh." I'm one of those people who, yeah, training is great. Like it's just an opportunity to team bond. It's just an opportunity to hang out with like-minded people and have fun. So I'm a person that always trained, always. But people weren't coming to training, and I'm like, Kristen, like, what's going on? And she goes, yeah, that's like, hey, that's how we are, that's how it is. Um, and every time I rang Maddie, he's going, oh yeah, we changed it to this day, or no, we were at that venue, or so I just thought I'll stuff it, because I was right into basketball pre-footy, and then anyway, I was driving past the uni one day, and I saw a couple of ladies on the oval, and they had a footy. I think there's only 3 of them. And I pulled in, and I was like, yeah, that's my thing. So they were just mucking around with a footy. It might have been a rugby ball, but they were kicking it. And I just thought, oh, yeah, AFL. So I went in there and at the old uni oval and pulled in, and we got chatting and stuff. And we just had a kick, and they weren't playing. There was no competition footy or anything like that in Darwin. They were just sort of having a muck around together. And from there, my juices just grew straight away. Like I was like, yep, yep, this is my next journey. I'm getting into footy. And so there it started. Just met those friends and met up again and again and decided to grow the game. It was great.
What year do you reckon that would have been that you saw those ladies on the uni oval?
I reckon about 2000, maybe early 2001. And then they had, yeah, the year 2000, the NT ladies went away and played their first AFL Women's National Champs then. And they came back and there was no competition or anything like that. And when I was talking to these three ladies, one of them was like, "Oh yeah, we used to play, we used to do this, and no one organises anything." And I very quickly learned, Jacob, that NT stands for not today, not tomorrow, no train, no truck, not Tuesday, not Thursday, everything. Everyone was so slack, and I've been paid out all my life for being a procrastinator and being late for everything. And when I got to the NT, it was doing my head in, and I thought, God, how does everyone else go? But everyone was really casual, and yeah, they were telling me about it, and I was like, yeah, well, let's start again, let's go again. And that year we actually did. We went, God, where did we go after that? That first year we took team to Sydney, and that was fun. I did my ACL, and Ron Barassi carted me off the oval.
Ooh.
First game, New South Wales thought they'd roster on against NT, being easy beats. And I was all pumped, ready to go. I was rover, and then ran out of the center of the like they had cricket pitches. We're at Drummoyne Oval, and so the whole center was the red sand. And I ran out with grass, hit the red sand patch, and I don't know what happened, but did my ACL. And it was within the first 2 minutes of a national championship. And Ron Barassi was a patron opening it for women's footy, so he came out, and everyone's going, "Oh, you're so lucky, Barassi helped you off." And I mean, he's left this plane now too, but he was there supporting women's footy from the beginning. Anyway, after that championship, I actually tried to run out for a few games towards the end of that one, but came back to Darwin and just rehabilitated like crazy, and thought, you know what, for us to get anywhere, like I don't want to go away as easy beats. I don't want to go away as I want to give it a shot. And for us to get anywhere, I need to start a local comp. So yeah, that's what I did.
Well, that's what you did, and what a massive feat at that. There
Yep.
must have been some challenges. Tell me about that
Oh
journey.
yeah.
So we're talking like 2000, 2001. I believe the first NTFL game was in 2013. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because
Yeah, that's wrong. I will correct you.
yeah, what year was the first game then?
Shit, I can't remember if it's '03 or '04.
And
But
was there clubs or was it
yep,
more?
yeah, it was clubs. It was established. We registered. We became an incorporated. We were WFLNT then, Women's Football League Northern Territory. So, bit of history on that is basically AFLNT were, yeah, we'll support you. But in a nutshell, um, I don't think they had the insight that I had towards what women wanted out of the game. They certainly didn't have the belief I had, and in fairness to them, they just probably weren't exposed to it or didn't have the capacity as an organisation to do anything with us. TIFA, they were back in the um, what is it, top in amateur league. They were brilliant. Tracy Village were one of the clubs that was like, yeah, we want women's footy to happen. And so Tracy Village was actually going to be a club in the first year, and they were brilliant. And so was Uni. But then we had St Mary's, Wanderers were semi on board and then pulled. Nightcliff through Pam Watson was brilliant. They were really good. Waratahs the great Brian Price down there was brilliant and had a lot of girls who had very good skills in other areas of life that could really, set a good foundation off field. But they were a lot of party girls in there as well who wanted to go out and just have a go with the footy. And who was Buffaloes with who was um I can see the guy. I can't think of the president's name at the time, but Woody. Anyway, we went in.
Who was it? Sorry,
Woody. What's his name? Shit.
I'm sure people around the traps will know who Woody is.
Yeah. Well, it was funny, like going to St. Mary's and Vic Ludwig would be like, yeah, you can borrow the under 16s jumpers. Don't you leave dents in the front of them. And I was like, oh, Vic, I said, I'll wash them and I'll bring them back smelling like perfume. And he's like, don't you dare put any softener on there. The boys won't know what to do. And as much as he sort of gave that sort of lip, he was very supportive. Um, the big one was Pam Watson at Nightcliff. She was great. At that time, AFLNT were giving laptops to clubs to help them out with their management. And Pam, I think, was set up on her own personal laptop and what's out of the bag now, but we ended up with that AFLNT laptop. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to give this to women's footy. I've got mine. I really want this to work for you." And they moved hell and high water for us to have halftime games, during the men's functions on home rounds and all that sort of stuff. They were really good. But anyway, we didn't. Bill Gee was great from TIFA. He would give us oval time during TIFA games, all that sort of stuff, run the gates and canteens. So it was, it um, brought that atmosphere about. But in the end, there seemed to be a bit of a kerfuffle between AFLNT and TIFA and women's because they were two different men's comps. We couldn't come under the same insurance and we couldn't do this if we had clubs from the NTFL and clubs from TIFA. So Tracy Village and Bill Gear and the rest of them had to say, look, I'm really sorry, we can't do it. So I went with NTFL. I wanted to go, guess they were the peak body, I wanted to go with them initially. So I sort of went with them, only there were people in there that were helpful. Jenny Elliott, Leslie Eilert was working there then, Michael Barfoot. But the organisation wasn't great towards us, to be honest. John Mitchell was marketing manager at the time. He was very good. But it just still wasn't gelling. And I feel like we had to run the women's comp. We incorporated our own association. We ran the women's comp for 3 years and we could then say, here's a ready-made competition. Now can you take it on as one of your divisions? Like it's not that hard. Just put it in as a division of its own. So I think that was 2006-07 we first moved in under the AFL-NT umbrella in the NTFL. But yeah, there were a lot of struggles there. Charlie King was pretty good in the early days, but also when we needed to be incorporated and get on with things, Charlie being Charlie and very busy, we would never run for meetings. And I just thought I didn't want him to leave, but I wanted to kick him off our committee so we can have a quorum. Because and I was just like, girls, let's just ask Charlie to be the patron. That way he's got the gift of the gab. He can still talk us up. He can still be involved. He can still do all the rest of it, but he doesn't have to be committed. Because I think at that time Charlie was he was on air a lot and he was just busy. So yeah. But no, there's a lot of people that really helped out, but it was really morning, noon, and night, 7 days a week of work. I actually ended up quitting my job to run women's footy free of charge for the first 3 years. And that was very financially draining, energy draining, all the rest of it. But I can only look back and I've got a lot of regrets in the way I did bits and pieces. And in my tired times, I was probably pretty crusty. But overall, I think I need to be proud and I need to go, shit, back. We did it, we really did it. And that was women running it. And we handed over a ready-made competition. And I was actually getting into schools. We had high school girls comp. We had primary school clinics and come and try days and all sorts of things, trying to grow like the whole pathway. I didn't want it just to be women's footy. I wanted the young girls to come into our game. Yeah.
So so 200 consecutive games, how many games did you end up playing consecutively and then in total?
Well, I don't know. I think I played about 35 games for NT over about a 10-year period of playing in the old format of the national championships. I don't know, Jacob. It was probably about 230 NTFL games. I played back in the first 3 years. I was pretty much I played about 140 for St. Mary's and the rest were with Wanderers. But in the first 3 years, to make sure there weren't any forfeits, what we used to do is with the teams, if you were short, you could borrow 2 players from another club for that one round. And I played my game, and then the game after is Nightcliff was short. So I went on, so they had their starting numbers and played the first quarter, came off, and then someone got injured. So I had to end up going back on. And Buffaloes as well, they were short one round. And they were like, oh, can we borrow 2 players from somewhere? And I just played mine, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. But I was a bit of a fitness freak back then. I just wanted to be, apart from wanting to be out there, to be honest, I just wanted the games to happen because I wanted to be able to say to NTFL, here, we've had X amount of rounds and we haven't had any forfeits.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, my first lot were at St. Mary's and second lot at Wanderers.
So that's where I was going to go with that. So, but before I do, so all up, you've played for St. Mary's, Wanderers, Buffs, and Nightcliff. Technically, like you've filling in with those
Technically,
other.
one game for Buffs, one game for Nightcliff, but yeah, for 4 clubs.
Yeah. So the first game,
and we used to be known as the NT Kites, and we later rolled over to NT Thunder to be in line with the guys.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. NT Kites.
Yeah, was NT Kites. Well, it was a strong and powerful bird which lived in the territory, and it hunted with precision and accuracy. And we're like, yeah, that sounds like us.
That sounds cool. I actually think I like that.
I do too. Yeah. And to be honest, we were really well known for our ability to tackle. We had a lot of rugby players come in, but we didn't understand a lot of the strategy of the game as players. We couldn't put a lot of things together, and our skills weren't the greatest. But man, the NT, we were just tenacious with tackling, with our defensive work. But yeah, we were a good defensive side for years.
Yeah, your first ever game was in the WFL NT comp, correct?
NT WFL, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was with St. Mary's. Who was that against, and what was that game like?
Hot Sun against Waratahs. It was just we're in yellow jumpers, so I think we were in the under 14 boys jumpers, and I loved it. It was out on the main oval, and in the change room, everyone was hot and sweaty, and we had a lot of girls from Camilda back then and St. John's. And then we had a whole handful of us. Well, I was one of the older girls then. That really just had really good structure and loved the young ones being there. And we'd bend over backwards to get them to training and all the rest of it. But that first game, it was pretty mind blowing when I look back. I haven't really looked back at the very first game until you just mentioned it, but I can remember it just being a sunny day. And I'll give an example of one lady. I won't say her full name because things happened down the track with her not being able to play. But her name was Michelle, and she just had a hoot. She was quite a bit older than me, but she came out, and just seeing her be around women running around playing sport, and actually she's from another country, and just to see the love in her, that she was just so electric and alive. And she was actually quite sporty as well. And she kept saying, oh, I don't know what I'm doing in footy. And I said, it doesn't matter. You're alive. You're running around. Look at you. Like, she was just glowing. And I was looking at everybody, just thinking to myself, everyone just feels so good. Like, it was a real feeling moment. And like footy is, but that sort of stuff was like, yeah, we've got to make this happen. Got to make this happen. We won the game, actually, quite surprisingly, because the Waratahs were, as I said, they were well organised. They were doing all these major car washes and all sorts of events beforehand to get all their finances together and all sorts of stuff. It was great. Yeah, it was good. We knew we had work to do after that, but we knew that I just knew it was a sure thing. I just put out a fixture for the whole season and went, right, we're doing it. And we did.
Yeah. That's so cool. So what were the biggest lessons that you learned in the 200 plus games from after that first game?
Cool. So I haven't totally separated myself as a player and myself as an organizer yet. I sort of carried it as my baby for a long time as an organizer. I wanted it to be right, and what I really wanted was for it to be sustainable, because I was hearing from the rugby girls, oh yeah, we do this, but we have 4 games and it falls apart. Well, no one really wants to organise anything in the territory and it just falls apart. So I knew very early on as an organiser, this has to be sustainable. Like, so I was very strict on rules and all that sort of stuff, because I wanted everyone to know where they stood. And no, you're not going to muck us around. No, you're not going to cheat the system. No, you're not going to play unregistered players. No, you're not going to do this. Get organised, make it happen. Let's make this legit. Um, so I've learned a lot about people's perceptions. Like, a lot of people thought that I was cheating for St. Mary's, or I was doing this or that for my own good. In a sense, it was my own good. I wanted to enjoy the game, but I also wanted it to be sustainable, and I wanted it to be there for our children and their children and all the women after us. So I was, I guess you could call it anal in a way, about the off-field organisation. As a player, um, what have I learnt? Um, I have some regrets, I guess, as a player. I have lots of fun, and I did really well. I think I gave it my best effort most of the time, but I'll be honest in saying, yeah, there were days where my head was in the organisation, or, life happens somewhere else, sort of thing. But I know Bo Dela Cruz is a beautiful athlete, and she's got this one saying that goes, you can't control what you can't control. Just control what you can control. And I always used to think, sorry, Bo, but I used to think, yeah, all right. You can just come in. You're a high class athlete. It's all right for you. We've got all this other stuff to deal with as well. But looking back, I absolutely 100% agree. Like, if you can just be present and be in the moment of life and absolutely give it your best shot while you're living it, whether it's on the sporting field, whether it's with your children, whether it's in study, whatever your pathway is, just give it your best shot, because it felt like centuries when I was in it, but time comes and goes like that. And so I've learnt to let go of a lot more, thanks to Bo's little saying, control what you can control. Um, yeah, be present, be mindful. And I think the opportunities that were created, like, I know I've got friends on the Tiwi Islands that had rarely even been to Darwin, let alone taken interstate for a game. So I've just learnt that everything we do, we're not only providing an opportunity for ourselves, but we're creating for the people around us as well. And I think that's one of my loves in life, is for everybody to be living their best life. And I mean, it's the greatest respect. There's people that have named there's lovely ladies on the Tiwi Islands that have named their daughter after my daughter, just because they were at our house so often and we looked after them so much and things like that. So that's really nice. And I love that they've had opportunity. So I just think, when we're going through things in life, you've got to be brave. Like, we all shit ourselves and we back out of things, but just be brave, knowing that, well, you're actually setting a pathway for someone else out there who you don't even know about. You're leading something for them. You're providing an opportunity for them down the track. And I think that's pretty special. Um, Player, what else have I learned? Just all the relationships. And I think it's beautiful to develop friendships out of sport. Um, what I didn't realize at the time, but I do realize now, is the most important relationship is the one with yourself. And a lot of people, beat themselves up and they're in their head. And I probably lived my life speaking negatively of myself, and then lived that outwardly. And if I had my time over, I would love, for women to know that, just love on you, or anyone really, but we're talking women's footy. Love on yourself first. That's where it all starts. And the more at peace and in love with yourself that you are, not so much in a conceited way, but in a way that you're honoring, loving doing your journey, then the more that will spread to the people around you, and the more connected and love the whole environment will be.
What's your most memorable, treasured, funniest memory in your 200 plus games of playing footy up here?
My most treasured memory, I think I'm actually just feeling really nice in my heart. Like, I could go out there and say, oh yeah, played 9 or 10 grand finals, won 5, or did this or did that or whatever. That's, to me, that's up there. That's nice. But no, it's not up there as high as the feeling of just the vibe of people. Like, I can see why people turn to religion or sport or whatever it is, bikie gang, but people need to be connected. Like, but humans come here to love and to connect. And I've often looked back and go, that was my women's footy journey. Is I didn't realize at the time, but the place where I was in, I just wanted to connect with other women, and I saw women's footy as a tool to do that. And it wasn't until my, like, right at the very end of my journey that I realized that, oh shit, just be who you are. Like, I'm quite a lot more of a nature fairy and gentler than I sort of portrayed in footy. But why don't I just be that and connect with women, like, just through that heart space. I don't need footy to be my tool, my audience anymore, to connect with women, because felt like I was always looking after the young ones and giving them opportunities, or people that were further remote or not doing so well in life. I guess those heart connections are my biggest feelings from it, memory wise. And yeah, sometimes I think, oh, it's just a band-aid, Beck. You didn't help out. You might have saved that person on the day, but how have you changed their life? So it has taken me on enough path to dig deeper into myself to find out how it can help more, sort of thing in life. Yeah. But they're the memories, the heart memories.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. What do you think when you look at football now for women from grassroots, local level, Premier League through to the AFLW?
Well, first of all, I've got to say I love it. I love it. And I really do. I love the style of game that's coming through. The younger girls are playing, the better, the more strategic the game is. I'm I'm mindful that footy as an industry can consume people too much. So, in what I mean in that is, this is quite raw, Jacob, but I feel that the brand AFL has a lot of control over our beliefs and what we should make a stance on and what we shouldn't make a stance on in life. And I don't want anyone to be owned by anyone. I'd love everybody to be a free being. And I just feel that, and coming up, I'm in club level now. You can't even wear a t-shirt without being a billboard. Gone are the days of the old cotton t-shirt, natural fibers. You felt good. I know in Darwin you've got to have cool dry stuff, so it because we sweat so much. But you're just a billboard, and I don't know that there's as much care in there with all the busyness of everything that there used to be back in the day of sport. And the same as the elite level. I mean, take your program out. Well, main comment on your stuff. I know you as a coach. I've been coached by you with different things. And I know you connect with the person, with the whole of person still. Whereas footy, I feel that sometimes I just feel it's so generic, and it's great for those people that are of strong character, very clear about what they want. And yes, this is part of my life. It's not my whole life. Whereas I feel that there's a whole heap of people in that range whether it's club sport or elite sport, that are going in there not strong in their identity and just losing parts of themselves in the hustle and bustle and the push in the direction of where the sport wants to go as an industry.
Yeah, I think that's really important to remember that. And I've long had this, value, belief, I don't know what it is, that football is just a game, and you can get hot under the collar about it. And I love cheering, like my men's team is Richmond, my women's team is Adelaide, like I love cheering for my team, at local level, anything. Like I love sport and getting really like excited about winning and losing. But you win and you celebrate, you party, you lose, and you commiserate. But it's not worth, breaking your TV over, or like kicking a can. Yeah, at the end of that, it's just sport, and you go out and you win, and I truly believe you should be winning with grace. You can celebrate and jump around, but you stop cheering for a moment to shake your opponent's hand who's just lost. And if you're on the receiving end of a loss, then like you go over and congratulate them and shake the hand, and in the back of your head you can be like, I'll get you next time, but well done, enjoy this time. I think I love what you just said, where you hit on the fact that it's just part of your life. Football is not your entire life. Football is just one part of life. And I like the other thing you said about it's just a vehicle for something bigger and more meaningful, which was to connect. So I love sport. I love football in particular as a sport, for what it brings to life. But exactly what you just said, I truly believe it's just one part of life, and you've always got to remember that, win, lose or draw, and it's good. It's just good fun.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I go for the Crows too. They're our NT girls. And it is a game. Like, I'm glad you said that, because it is just a game. And you look at the men's comp, and I've seen guys that aren't traveling well in relationships and stuff. They're not getting each other to pull their heads in. They'll party with the bloke and feed him more whatever they're on, or more alcohol, or whatever else. And in some ways, it's people go there to, we think it's a safe environment to find ourselves in or to grow in. And but there are aspects of it that we can lose our identity quite easily. But in saying that, there's also, people have been in trouble, and it's your teammates that will get around you first and pull you up and get you back on track. And just side noting to that, I think the physicality of the game and any sort of movement in life, I think, is vital to our health, vital to not just our physical health, but our mental, emotional health. I'm so into emotions and energy and things like that. It actually does get trapped and stored in our body in different ways. And being physical is an opportunity to allow, like, I don't see energy as good or bad, but it's sometimes stale. So it's an opportunity to move that energy out and move on, so we can keep processing in life in other ways as well the more we move. So I love it as a physical game.
You remind me of a conversation I was having with a guy who I went to uni with. He's a PE teacher as well, just like me. His name is Glenn Randall, and he played for Palmerston and Southern Districts. Very good footballer, very, very fast, especially over the first 20 meters. And his ability to connect with people, particularly, young teenagers, is second to none. And he is part of the furniture now at Palmerston Middle School and High School. And there's no surprise, because he's so good with connecting with those teenagers. But one of the things, we're on prac, and I think John Anstess might have been there as well, who we're at uni with together, St. Mary's player. And I remember Glenn said there was a boy that was really good at sport. And he said, the thing I've noticed working with a lot of, kids, like young people, young adults through to young kids, the ones that play sport generally are more balanced with their emotions when they play sport at school. So when you come in for a school PE lesson, typically, and I've paid attention to this a lot since I heard him say it probably 15 years ago, maybe. The kids who do play sport outside of school, not always, but generally, more often than not, are a bit more balanced emotionally when they play sport at school, because they're used to that winning, losing sense of emotion, those emotions that you get from that, and dealing with it and handling it. Whereas the kids generally who don't play sport outside of school, that's their outlet at school. So they do get a bit more, and I don't think they've had as much practice with like handling that winning, losing emotions, where when they're at school, they do get a bit more upset when they lose. Yeah. Have you ever noticed anything like that?
Yeah,
Or
well,
what do you
there
think of that?
were, when the women's footy first started, there were um, people that played the game. Um, it's sad to say this, and I don't make an apology because it's just truth, but I'm not having a shot at anyone here. But there were people that played the game just to be a thug. But you could see that they were just getting whatever was going on in their personal life out on the footy field. And unfortunately, it was against another female. And I used to, be rough and tumble with people too, but it was more or less play within the rules and don't put a female out, like put her out of that contest. Don't put her out for a week. She's possibly a mother, or she's young, and we had such young kids in the game, women's game then as well. Or she's a student. Like put them out to scare them off for that contest and scare them off the next contest, but don't intentionally be a thug and take someone out of the game. So, but I could also see that it was a real venting session for some people with stuff going on in their lives. But the people that stuck with it and were consistent with that physicality, that movement, that progression that their body was doing it at training and then at games and stuff like that, they became more and more level headed in their decision making on field. They became more level headed in their decision making off field. And I just felt the whole being able to be physical. I mean, we are spiritual people, but we're in human form. We need that physical movement to make the whole of us come together, sort of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
think
something on that.
I think a sport definitely allows you to develop that, that balance, the discipline, the commitment, as all those emotional, psychological aspects, along with the physical, the fitness that you get from it, strength and aerobic fitness and everything, power, everything. But I think it doesn't come without a good coach or a good group around you. I think you need to have
Yes.
a good coach and a very good leadership group around you to drive that, because without that, it can actually go the other way, I think, and become worse, or it can just not do anything. But I really think it's not just sport, it's again, connection. It's the people involved in the sport that help you to drive and develop those characteristics like discipline and, commitment and level-headedness.
You know what I also found interesting actually with people, human behavior. Um, People don't like being disliked. So often there will be a set of people who have a lot of success on the sporting field, and the more success you have as a club, the more others will start disliking you. And I felt those people without a backbone would soon leave or would soon start falling apart. And it was like, no, you're not being show pony or anything like that. It's just you're lifting the standards. And by you lifting standards, others will lift their standards. Like keep going, be strong. And if, people are starting to hit you more on field or throw more shit at you off field, then just keep raising the bar. Like do it in a nice way, but just keep raising the bar. But as human people, I noticed with, I don't know if it's a female thing or not, but a lot of women were actually afraid to shine in the early days. So when they were good at things, they would start um, self-sabotaging and backing off and doing all that sort of stuff, or they'll jump to another club. But yet there were other people who wanted all that success and highlight without willing to work for it as well.
Yeah,
But
you're
I
definitely touching
remember,
on the tall poppy syndrome of Australia that Australia's renowned for.
yeah, no one likes being, disliked. So you do things self-sabotage to, oh, right, I better bring myself back down to their level. Um, But actually, a couple of things I just want to touch on when you talked about discipline before, and I was thinking, and you spoke of Johnny A, and I thought, wow, you really were surrounded by good people. Like watching Johnny play, um, just showed so much discipline as a player and even as a person off field. Like he was just so disciplined in his actions. Like he was such a clean player, and also disciplined in his what he did with his body. Like he's so athletic, just so beautifully natured off the field and around the club and all the rest of it as well. So you're in good hands. But it's friendship group. But I just lost my train of thought where I was going next about the body. It'll come back.
We were talking about discipline and not wanting to stand out too much, which I'm going to go down this path a little bit, and feel free to go back if you remember what you're talking about. But
Yeah.
I do think that is more women than men that do that. I think it's both, but I do think that women are a bit more worried about standing out and looking, like getting too good, and then being subject to ridicule. But if you do start to get hit a bit more often in a game, or I think that it's all about your internal dialogue, and you have to look at that like a positive, that's a compliment, that these other players,
Yeah.
your opponents, are giving you credit. They're going, this is a good player, and we need to try and find a way to nullify them. So I think if you can, it's about the internal dialogue, and if you can flip the script, then that's how you go to the next level again.
Yeah, that would fire me up. Like once I started getting hit around, I got right, 50 game back. So yeah, you'd always put you'd just be able to focus more. The more shit that was thrown at me and the more I was hit around, I was like, all right, I'll just be first the ball next time. You won't be able to you won't be able to hit me. After a while it was wearing, but that's a male female thing too, I think. And I will touch on this, like having grown up in the community grew up in, and the way I've lived my life. I feel the shame job mentality is a real it's not just belonging to the Aboriginal culture, it actually belongs to women for different reasons. But there's a real shame job mentality there. And, going to the boarding schools and picking up girls. And one of the things I always used to talk about with loving footy was what you could wear. Like, even if you're playing club level netball, you got to be in a freaking bodysuit and such a short skirt. And I mean that might be beautiful for some people, but there's a lot of women out there and a lot of community-based people who or people that grew up in a culture where no, it was not appropriate to be wearing fitted clothing and showing your body and all this sort of stuff, all starring and being good at something. And what I loved about footy is you could be a size medium, but you can order a 3XL shorts and wear them long, or your jumpers, if you were into it and you didn't want to be tackled and slung by your jumper, then you got a little jumper, but you could wear one as big as baggy as you like. And I thought it's one of the beautiful things about the sport is for women, I thought, is you got your height and your shorter girls, you've got your speedsters, you've got your strength girls, you've got all sorts of shapes and sizes. You've got 18 women minimal coming together that are just such a mixed bunch. Whereas on a netball court, you got seven, basketball, you got five. And in, that you had restrictions on your clothing. And one of the things about footy was basically you can be in a sloppy short and shirts. And this is for those that suffered through shame job mentality. You could actually be in an environment where it was okay, and that's what I really push for school sport NT, and that was one of my arguments as well. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is one of the sports that is so inclusive of females. It's traditionally male dominated, but it's so inclusive of females from all walks of life, not just those that understand really strict discipline and are comfortable wearing a body fitting outfit. I mean, all and good on those that are comfortable with it, but we've just got to be mindful that there are all walks of life out there, and we need to cater for everybody in
So
those
where
areas.
to next for women's footy? Where do you see the game going?
Um, I haven't focused a lot on the elite level. Um, I feel, where's the game going? I'd like to see more females drive the culture of the game. And I think we're very blessed to have some sensational men in the game. And but I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding about, well, what I would love is for females to be able to enter the game, stay in their feminine presence, and still compete at that level, whether it's club level, elite level, whatever. But there needs to be a shift in the energy of, well, yeah, you can come in. This is who I am. I might be a, nice, soft 15-year-old who likes this, and this. I want that young girl to leave as a young woman, still knowing who she is and still being comfortable feeling soft and in her feminine space. I wouldn't like a 15-year-old to come in, and I've seen this happen. They're 17, 18, they start the party life and get involved in different things, and they've got this masculine energy about them where they don't feel safe being in their own feminine energy anymore. And I would love that cultural shift to be, well, women, you can still be a beautiful feminine energy and still have a really good physical presence. You can still be competitive and the mastermind of your game. As soon as you're off the white line, then you can drop back into your feminine nature so easily. Whereas I feel that this passage of time hasn't allowed us to do that so greatly. But I would like to see the shift evolve to that. It's only going to grow. It's only going to grow, and I think it's got to change skill set wise, and that's just natural evolution because we've got younger people coming in that have played the game for longer. So the AFLW level skill set wise will change. Whereas at the moment, I think you can still dominate in AFLW just being a brilliant athlete. And there's a difference between being a brilliant athlete and a brilliant footballer. Not all athletes have a football mind. Often you can't teach what I'll just give an example of Natasha Pauljimi or, some of those girls on the islands, Tiwi Islands, their football brain is just sensational. Now, if they could be just enough to be the athlete, even better for them. But we've got young girls coming through that will develop that football brain. So our elite level programs I think, are going to change to more free flowing game of footy. Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Beckie, I just want to acknowledge you for all the work that you've done in the women's footy space, and thank you for your time today on the Mind Your Body show. As you've been talking, I have been writing down some notes, and we're going to finish off with our quickfire 10 and 10. You ready to finish off with this?
Margaret, just pull you up. It isn't your women's footy show now, not Mind Your Body.
What did I just say? The Mind Your Body show?
Yeah, on your Mind Your Body show.
I told you before we started recording, I have to watch that. It just rolls off the tongue. It's been since 2017. I've been doing the Mind Your Body show. It's now 2020, late 2023, 6 years, 5.5 or something. Yeah, it's going to take some time. The women's footy show, we're going to finish off with this 10 and 10, the same as what we used to do with the Mind Your Body show.
Yep.
Are you ready to go with this?
Yep.
All right. First thing that comes to mind, 200 games. 200 consecutive games.
Wow.
Number two, this is your words, not mine. Being a desert rat.
I loved it. Wouldn't replace it for the world. Loved it.
Number three, past lives.
Ooh, history. Past lives. Our energies today is like we're 80% of who we are, but we're 20% ancestral as well. Like sometimes we've got shit going on. Think, why do I feel like this? Nothing's happened to me to be feeling this way, but you've got 20% ancestral and past life baggage hanging around as well that often needs to be cleared up. That's why you come back.
If anyone's interested in that, can they contact you to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my jam. That's I'm just in my most brilliant, happiest space when I'm talking energy with somebody, and I just read the body, just like, yeah, off track here, but I can see in the body, I get just beautiful messages for people, and it's all their own energy stuff going on.
And how can people contact you if they would like to know more?
Oh, you can look me up on Facebook and send me a private message, or I'm actually going to be doing my website soon because I want to head down that path. I just feel that I'm in such a helpful space when I'm there. So yeah, keen to take it on as a business venture.
Awesome. Number 4, boarding school.
Yum came to mind. I don't know why, because the food was a bit ordinary. Why is yum? I just feel the deliciousness of being in. It was just fun times, being in good energy. You know, it was a safe space to just grow up around a lot of girls, and I can Charlie will tell you as well. I'll travel from anywhere in life, and it'll take me 5 days to get 800 kilometers because I need to call in and see all these old mates along the road. Like, I've always got a room anywhere around Australia. I'll drive up from Brisbane up to Cooktown, and I'm like, every 4 hours, I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay here the night and catch up with so and so. I'm going to say catch up with so and so. Or WA, Tali and I go where, and she's like, shouldn't we be booking a motel because she's quite structured and organized? I'm like, nah, we'll just have a conversation, catch up with someone. And yeah, it's boarding school's the same as sport. You've got friends for life. Yum.
Number 5, sport and recreation.
Um, goodness, sport and recreation, essential.
Number 6, feminine energy.
Another wow. Just feminine energy. Don't be afraid of it. Like, everyone's got it, males, men and women. Just feminine energy. Just allow yourself to be nurturing and allow yourself to be nurtured, like, as well, not just to give out that nurturing. But feminine energy is definitely of receiving. So be lovely to see more women receive whatever it is they want in life.
Number 7, moving homes.
Joy, sarcasm. No, it was joy, excitement, as in, yeah, new life. It's just different each time. Rental life was good. You know, you'd have inspections every 3 months, so you'd have great spring cleans and all the rest of it. But nah, it's a pain in the ass, but it's joy. You get a fresh start all the time.
Number 8, kicking a footy that first time at the uni oval.
Friends.
Well, not the first time, but that time.
Yeah, that time felt connection. I played footy in primary school actually. My brother was pissed off once because we used to win $1 for best player, and I won the dollar over him once. He used to win it every week. Anyway, that was Lena versus Leinster. But
Number
friends
9.
and connection.
No, that's great. Number 9, starting the WFLNT.
Proud.
And number
Yeah.
10, if you could go forward, this is time travel. If you could go forward in time or back in time, to which point in time would you go to and why? You can come back to now if you would like. Afterwards,
Jacob.
you don't get stuck. Sometimes people get stuck. They go, oh, I don't want to go forward, and get stuck and not be able to come back. I like my life. This is time travel. So it's kind of like a little bit of insight into my crazy mind. And if there's one thing that I could do in my lifetime, it would be to time travel. I would love it to be able to go to any point in time. And I'm imagining you're probably going to say even like another plane of universe, another plane of energy. I don't believe that there's one universe. I think there's multi-universes.
Oh yeah, there's
and
definitely parallel
like,
universes, and we jump between those universes. But to answer your question, I actually want to be present. Like, our presence, if we're in this moment and being present, like, what am I feeling? What am I seeing? What am I tasting? What am I hearing? All that sort of stuff is we're not living in fear. We're just living in that moment. And what I can say is that our present moment determines our future anyway. If I'm shitty today, then that's predetermining my tomorrow. So if I'm present today and in that space, then my tomorrow, my future is going to be predetermined by that presence and that space. So
I
I
love
guess
it.
I'm in two timelines at the one time there. Whereas if I'm living in my past, I will just be continually living that past in my future as well.
So if you're living in the
Sense.
present right now, you're also influencing your future. So you're living in the present and the future.
Yeah. Whereas living in the past, you're living in all three. And if it's a shitty past, we'd like to hear.
I like it. That's really insightful and kind of thought-provoking.
Yeah, well, we have those conversations, you know. It's great.
You got me thinking deep now. Anyway, what a interesting way to finish off and a fascinating conversation. Beckie Taylor, thank you so much for your time today on the Women's Footy Podcast.
Thanks, Jacob. Really appreciate you and your time. Cheers.